Welcome, guys. Time to start an Accelerate session. Today's guest I've known for many years. Welcome, Lauren McDonald.
Hi, thank you for inviting me on.
Hey, Lauren, I know you've sort of been in the fitness industry for many years. Like, for the guys that haven't sort of met you before, tell us a little bit about your background. How did you sort of get started in fitness? What have you been doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually entered the fitness industry in 2005. So I feel like that's well and truly a lifetime ago. I started as a membership consultant, which I actually think is a really good start in the fitness industry. So essentially, I sold my soul in Bondi Junction Mall, trying to get people to become a member of Fitness First Platinum. And I actually loved it. I did it for 2 years, and it helped me pay my way through getting my certs, which I really wanted to become a personal trainer. So 2007, I graduated my Cert 4, and after meeting Andrew Simmons, I had it in my head that I had to become a vision personal trainer, which is what I did. So I joined them in 2007 as a PT, and my journey went with vision for 14 years. I wrapped up with them in 2021, and I think I did nearly every role within vision. I was a personal trainer. I moved into management. I went across into HQ for a little while, and at that time, my husband had opened up his franchise within Vision. We got engaged, and so I joined him in his business, and we worked together in a franchise business, and it was unreal being a business owner and growing a team, and then went across back to HQ and did performance management with them.
So good, such a big sort of range of different experience. If you can, I'd love to sort of unpack it. You mentioned at the start you thought that doing a membership sort of consultant role was beneficial. Why would you sort of encourage people to do that?
So I've learned that people get into the fitness industry, particularly coaches, because they want to help people. And I don't believe that they think too much about the sales aspect that still comes with, being a coach or being a business owner. And I think having that experience as a membership consultant and the way in which they train you and the role play that you have to do every morning, I think it really sets you up to whichever avenue you continue to move through the fitness industry. It sets you up for being comfortable to continue to have to sell yourself or, that's all. I think it was amazing for that. And it also got me comfortable with continually being uncomfortable in situations. So, yeah.
For sure. It's quite a vulnerable position to put yourself in, and I agree with you. I think it's good that we sort of we get our newest staff involved in things like member acquisition and sort of joint venture type thing. You left out of your little description there that you were like vision manager of the year one year, and sort of before you went into like
2 years
ownership. Like what?
Yeah.
That was obviously a good stepping stone to learn the ropes before you were sort of paying the bills for the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know what, if you get the opportunity to make mistakes in somebody else's business before becoming a business owner yourself, go for it. And if being lucky enough to manage somebody else's business, pretend that it's yours and drive it like it's yours. And yes, the success you're sharing with the business owner, but the mistakes also are costing, the business owner, but you get to learn from them. And then it's a really nice platform to go into your own business for sure.
And you guys have successfully built a Vision PT studio and sold that for a nice little profit, and now sort of gone into different roles, but still in the fitness industry. Tell us about FitStop as a brand, and what sort of role do you play there?
Yeah, so at FitStop, I am in recruitment. So essentially what I do is I help personal trainers, fitness professionals and investors fulfill their dreams of becoming a business owner. So that's kind of space that I sit in with FitStop.
Yeah.
But FitStop is a brand for those that don't know FitStop. So we like to call ourselves the home of functional fitness, and we cater to the everyday athlete. Yeah. So we are focused on strength and conditioning, metabolic heart rate training, and we'll get like cardio conditioning work. So we're group fitness essentially. And we really look towards those people who kind of grew up playing sports, are fit and healthy, and just really like to enjoy an active lifestyle.
Yeah, sure. I can see like there's a bench press in as part of the workout. There's like barbell. So it's obviously has quite a strong strength component.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at our fit to market, I think, well, let's pretend we've got a triangle. You have your time-based HIIT training boutique model. So think BFT F45.
Yep.
You then have your 24-hour fitness models. So that kind of, you go in, do your own workout, get out. And then you have like your CrossFit model, which is definitely that, strength and conditioning, Olympic lifting, and to some people can be seen as a little bit maybe intimidating. We sit, I would say, in the center of all of those. So
Yep.
we are boutique, we're group, but we are rep-based training. We are strength and conditioning focused, so definitely leaning closer towards CrossFit. However, we do have a really strong element of, metabolic conditioning, heart rate training, and things like that.
Yeah, I love it. It's obviously a fast-growing sort of space, the group training one. It's kind of cool in a way that there's other group training sort of premium price brands that have come before you. But I've been so impressed with FitStop. I had the opportunity through you to meet, I think it was Beck, one of the CEOs, and she's very organized, very inspiring sort of woman. What else do you think is sort of helping you guys as a brand to be sort of growing when perhaps some other brands might be sort of still recovering from COVID and other things?
Yeah, great question. I actually think it comes to the foundations that were laid prior to COVID. So like in respect to FitStop, I think at the beginning of the journey with us, we chose to invest really heavily in the operations and tech space. We wanted to ensure our member experience and business owner experience was exceptional from the outset. So as much as we focused on the growth of the franchise, that came second to ensuring that our operating systems were bang on. Then when it came to just rolling out and growing FitStop, to not, I guess, overstretch any of our resources, we rolled out in a state-by-state approach. So really focusing on, having enough resources from HQ for said state, creating enough brand recognition, and then having a really strong, I guess, operations and rollout support. So when we open any of our new locations, and so year to date, for example, every location we've opened has been cash flow positive on day one. Our pre-launch operating systems flow into our continued operating systems, really focus on, generating interest and having enough members come through our doors prior to open day. And I think year to date, we're sitting at an average of 160 people in our businesses on open day. And I believe for business owners coming in, that really sets you up for a nice springboard to continue just to build on that vibe that's already been created prior to opening. And I think that's really helped the growth of our brand. Yeah. So, and probably to your point with where others may, I don't know, maybe have come a little bit unstuck or have struggled, maybe this year, I think there's, I think brands need to continue to innovate, need to continue to invest back, into the brand themselves. And I wonder if every brand continues to do that. And, on the other end of that scale, I think growth is really important, but sometimes when you grow really, really quickly, that comes at a cost of being able to have operating systems that support that growth, which can then impact business owners. So, yeah, I think the way we set up our operation from the get-go allowed us to have strong growth now and continued growth to the future.
It's such I love a few things about that answer. Like one is how clear you are on what sort of break even is. My wife was a member at Orange Theory Fitness in Brookvale that recently sort of had to close down, and there was a few challenges they faced. One was the Westfield lease, which was crazy expensive. Another one was like the cost of their fit out. I think break even was like close to 400 members.
I think it's a bit bigger, yeah.
Yeah, so even on paper, as much as I love that sort of as a workout, and I've been to some really successful ones sort of in the States, so I understand that could be stressful for a franchisee, and it could be tough to sort of get that many members before you sort of come up for air. So, man, 160 on day one, that's fantastic. Tell me, like for those that haven't looked at the website or sort of haven't done a workout at FitStop before, I understand there's no contracts. Like what do you sort of charge? What's the average sort of studio charge for a membership?
Sure. At the moment, the membership is $54 per week.
Okay.
And that is across the board.
Very cool. And it's and I see on the website over sort of 30 workouts per week. Is it a similar sort of workout each time if I come today versus tomorrow? Is there how does it work?
Yeah, so we have we lift, we perform, we condition and sweat. So twice a week we lift. That's our strength and condition, our strength days. So they're big, heavy lifts. Usually zero kind of cardio involved, maybe one tiny element of cardio is there, but that's on a Tuesday and a Thursday. On a Monday and a Friday, we perform, which is by far my favorite day, and it's, I think personally, by far the hardest day. And it's a mixture of, you'll have 2 or 3 big lifts in those days, mixed with that cardio element, and often it's to do with, you know, max cows on, be it the ski erg or the assault bike, something like that, but working in a team. And then we do a conditioning day on a Wednesday, which is just cardio, and it's, you know, elevated heart rate nonstop, 36 minutes. And then on a Saturday, it's our social Saturdays, which is a sweat session. You know, bring anyone along to the session, and it's a really beautiful hybrid of all 3 sessions that we have in the week.
Yeah, okay. And would you say the average person, like, do they do 2 a week? Do they sort of, what's most popular in your circles?
I think the most popular is probably lift, because, you know, it's nice, big, heavy weights, and, you know, not many people miss a lift days. But the average person comes just shy of 3 times per week.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Then,
in terms of like for the gym owners and managers and stuff that are on the call, how do you sort of like to onboard them? Like if I so I understand there's like a 7-day trial. If I signed up sort of today, do I sort of come straight into a class? Do you guys do like a consult like you might have done in like a PT previous life? What do you like to do there?
Yeah, so we do have, so depending which introductory offer you've come in, obviously you'll do your phone call, kind of, you know, pre-qualification on the phone, have a conversation, find out where they're at. Absolutely encourage anyone to come in at least 15 to 20 minutes prior to starting the session. Sit down, go over where they're currently at with their health parameters, injuries, things like that. Talk about what they're going to expect in that upcoming session, and then show them around the location. It's after the session that we actually sit down and talk more about their experience, how they've felt, and then discuss how their goals that they've set are going to kind of be achieved through FitStop, and can they see that after performing the session that they've just done. And as far as the conversion, so trial to member, it's a really seamless process. It's literally the tap of the side of your phone, and the member is a member.
Okay, so they sort of register their details. If they sort of green light it, it just enables them to sort of reduce the admin, where you can take them through to membership with one click.
Essentially, yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good. Like a big focus for us at Rushcutters Bay with my own studio is finding good humans to come in and work there and kind of develop them. I imagine for a brand like this one, which has also got that sort of performance element, there must be a fair bit of like training and development and stuff that goes into the team. What sort of comes to mind? Like you've obviously seen different brands and that. How do you sort of, how would you explain the development process, or how they sort of go about it in compared to other brands you've worked in?
So look, and to be really transparent, I don't work in the operational side of FitStop, so I can't talk, you know, super specifically to this, and that's just to be transparent. But the onboarding of coaches, so we have, each state has a member experience specialist that works specifically with the locations in each area. So they're there to help develop, train, onboard, you know, new business owners and coaches into our network. And they'll spend a lot of time on the ground in locations going through the execution of our product being our sessions. And our sessions are everything from the hello to the execution of the session, to the trial conversion, to the see you later. So they work quite closely with that. We also have the opportunity for all of our coaches to attend induction up at our Centre of Excellence at the Gold Coast Titans, which we've set up there, a FitStop inside of their facility there. So they can head up there and they'll do a 4-day induction with our head of athletics and go over, again, everything product related to really ensure that they're delivering on a 5-star service. Married back with the belly to belly training, we have our learning and development platform. So, kind of throwing away those old coach manuals and things like that. You've got your L&D platform, depending what position you're in. So a coach, a manager, or a business owner, you log in, you have certain modules available to you, but those modules are used as, the starting springboard to each topic that you're going to learn about to then belly to belly train on.
I love that. I love that there is a place where they can go and actually see, best practice. At the same time, you're looking for sort of consistency across all the different sites, and the fact that key staff are actually watching videos or doing quizzes or things like the same as the other sites. It obviously helps with quality control. So it's a very cool system. Wanted to check in, you obviously have exposure to the entire network. And inside any network, there's some people that are just thriving and ranked based on the number of members or the amount of revenue or something like that rank a bit higher than others. What would you say, is there any sort of common traits or any observations you've made in the top performers inside of your network? What are those guys kind of doing to go so well?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, to be quite frank, I've worked across 3 franchise brands, and I think essentially the habits and the skills are the same in all the top performers. I don't think there's a magic bullet, but our top performers are they're ruthless in pursuit of excellence, both from themselves, what they expect, and also their team. They take full responsibility for all the outcomes of their location. They completely trust in our FitStop methodology, and they follow our processes. And when they feel stuck, they reach out to HQ and ask for extra support. I think they know when they know that they can't do it all themselves. I think all of our successful owners know that they're not in that position without their team and without the coaches that they've employed to also help them become successful. And they're dead set passionate about FitStop. They're in love with the brand. And trust me, when you try FitStop, it becomes an obsession. So
yeah, it sounds quite addictive. There's definitely an energy associated with the brand, which I think you guys do a tremendous job with. Do you see the top performers, are they sort of owner operators in most cases? Do you get a mixture?
So we do have a few, it's probably, I think it's probably an even mix of owner operator and then investor owner. So I know the number one on member base in our network is investor owner. So that location is actually under management, and it has our largest member base. And then, but look, definitely, the owner operators are also in the top, but they're multi-site operators. So how much time they spend in each location, it's not necessarily about that. It's the fact that they've been able to, along with our systems, leverage themselves across multiple locations and still be super successful by working on the business and having the right people lead it on the ground. So I'd say the top 5 is a mixture of passive, owner operator, and then multi-site.
Wow. It's I've heard you sort of emphasize the quality of the systems, but also that sort of people development aspect. It is really reassuring. It's something I sort of talk about with the Gym Hub crew. And some of them may have no goals of sort of opening multiple sites, but I think it still gives you a bit of a life. If you can obviously create systems where people can replicate really good quality sort of classes and service, and then develop people. You don't have to be in there every single day. So it's definitely quite aspirational for myself and the other gym owners and managers and stuff that have logged in today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I've got a question from Dev. Dev's got a women's gym. They sort of have multiple services, but sort of in that, they're in Western Sydney. It's called Empower Women's Fitness. He said, what are some of the things you guys implement in the member experience to help participation and retention?
Yeah, great question.
And this comes to mind there.
Oh, look, this probably kind of leads into one of the questions that you're going to ask about lead gen, but our biggest member engagement strategy that we have is our Unstoppable series, which is, you know what, it's like, I guess it's our version of a challenge. It's just that we don't like the word challenge because, one, it's quite finite. People, A, associate it with weight loss, and B, it's for a short period of time, then you're done, and then you get to go back to normal. We run our Unstoppable series, and this is an opt-in for members, and it's used as an introductory offer, you know, to those that aren't members. But we have such a big uptake in our members, you know, competing in the Unstoppable series. And essentially what this is it's a data-driven, performance-based challenge. So we do our 3RM testing at the beginning, we do our endurance testing, and then built over 6 weeks. You know, we have a build week performance, whatever, it goes on for 6 weeks, and then we retest at the end of 6 weeks to see an improvement of somewhere between 105 and 110% of your starting 3RM. And I think for the people that come to our locations and the outcomes that they want to achieve, they know when you come to FitStop, it is about strength and it's about performance, and it's about understanding not just getting the outcome, but understanding how you got there. And it is by far our biggest member engagement opportunity. And then there's a huge party at the end.
I love it. I enjoyed. I remember going. Each time we've gone to the States, Anna and I will sort of jump into like a Soul Cycle class, whatever, and it's more, what would you say, like dance-based or sort of entertainment-based. And then you saw sort of Peloton, almost like the evolution of Soul Cycle, where they've had that performance-based stuff where you could actually race each other and try and compete against wattage. And me and Anna that just brings out that competitive, you've met Anna, it's brings out that competitive nature in us. So I love that idea that you can kind of onboard these guys, but then they're actually interested in, well, how am I going compared to when I first started? So it's almost like a combine, like an NFL retesting type thing, which, it's such a cool concept.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, I'll talk about NFL. It's our on season, we call it. And then when you're not in Unstoppable, you're in your off season. And that's where you're increasing your fitness, you're learning to maintain the amazing strength results. And
what do you think is like the target age or demographic for this type of model? What are you seeing sort of most of?
Look, our target market, I would say, is 25 to 35. That's what we kind of say. Not what I've seen. I've been to quite a few locations now, and every location is different. I definitely think, one, it depends on who's owning and leading that particular location, where you are as well, in the city that you're in or regionally or whatever it might be. I did a session with our OG owners down in Northcote, which is in Melbourne. And I was deadlifting next to a 72-year-old gentleman, but there were also 19-year-olds in the class.
I hope you had him covered.
Mate, had him covered. Shameful if I didn't. I had him covered. But so it's look, that 25, 35, potentially 40, but it's a big mix, and it really does depend on location.
Okay. Do you find like that competitive nature, is that too much for some people? Do you find, like, do you sort of ease them into that aspect of it, knowing they might prefer it a bit later, or is it more just suited to some people?
So I think the blissful thing with FitStop, there is that competitive nature, but there's no ego. That's been left, like, the egos are left at the door. When you walk in, you don't feel like you have to go to the same level as potentially the person next to you. So if you're somebody who, does have a level of fitness, but maybe isn't as confident in that big lifting environment, the coach who's on for that class will understand that, and you will be married up with somebody who is in a similar fitness or strength position as what you're in. There's so much happening in a class that you're not taking notice of anyone else in the class either. So the feeling that you're either needing to keep up with somebody else or are competing against somebody else isn't there. And the only time really that's there is when you're in a group with people the same fitness as you, or you're actually competing on what we call our game day. So outside of that, I actually feel that, yeah, it's not a challenge. I trained at Brookvale last week on Saturday. There were 3 women that came in for their very first session. They were on trial. They were all over the age of 40, had never been in an environment like this before. The class had about 24 people in it, and they all became members at the end of the class. Absolutely loved it. One's already written a review, and I don't believe that they even noticed that potentially their level of where they were at compared to others wasn't, the same. So I think FitStop do a really good job at taking that away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's I guess with any sort of model, you probably get your outliers and the people that sort of will come in and they just love it. But I imagine, like, just looking at some of like the images on the website, everyone's relatively fit sort of looking. There's a lot of language around your team on that sort of performance day and around like performance. So it makes a lot of sense that sort of 25 to 35 are probably your initial ones that come in, and then it's free for all.
Absolutely.
What about staffing? Do you how many staff would you need to sort of run a FitStop like Brookvale as an example? Maybe only out of the gates with 120, 160 sort of members. Would they be sort of running it off, 5 staff or something like that?
So you'll have your manager in the business who will take, let's call it 10 odd hours worth of classes per week, and the rest of their week's made up of, leading that business and the coaches in the business. Depending on the availability of the other coaches, probably 2 other coaches. It's definitely, compared to other models, there's not as much of a need for a larger amount of coaches compared to others. So I'd say a manager and 2 other coaches. Potentially you'd want 1 other as an absolute, if I need you, can you fill me in?
Yes.
But
More as like a backup type thing. So it's pretty like the staffing numbers are quite low. Would you expect a class of like 20 people in a class at a time, or for somewhere like Brookvale?
Yeah. So Brookvale, so it can vary depending on the time of day. So I've been there and done classes, with 12 people, and then on the weekend I had one with 24. I've also been in locations where we've had the maximum amount of people, so 36 in the class.
Which is tremendous. I know for different models, obviously there's less barbells and things so that you can fit more people in there. But it's a nice little bit of variety inside a class. If you can fit 36 in there with a bench press and a barbell, must be a very well thought out.
You should come to Brookie and have a session.
Programming.
You should meet me in Brookvale, Stevie, and have a session with me.
Yeah, come for a little cameo session.
Totally.
Very cool. Let me go back to you guys. If you're following along, perhaps you've got like a group training model and you're interested to understand a little bit more about like recruitment or marketing or sales, go into the chat for me and I'll be sure to pick Lauren's brain while we've got her on the call. So we've spoken, what the guys are doing, we've spoken about onboarding a new studio, doing like a pre-sales and sort of building up the brand. I've seen brands like Reunion in Brookvale that closed, a couple of years later with 120 members and stuff. So I love that these guys are opening the doors with that same sort of cash flow and confidence. And I can see why that would make a difference if you're kind of in your first year of business or something like that.
Yeah.
Does anything, like going back to Dev's question, like his was more like a bit of a 2-part one. Do you see, like, outside of like that retraining combine sort of testing every 6 weeks, do the guys do anything on like a studio level around Christmas or around running events? Like what sort of things keep people together when you don't have any contracts?
Yeah, so each location has various little things that they do. So there's definitely similar to what we've done in the past, but there are events that you can participate in, like fun runs and things like that, as a team together, train for, and then get together and go and compete in. Like an example, we've got this weekend. Is it this weekend? No, the following Saturday we have Try for Smitty, which is all of the locations are getting on board to do a mini triathlon within the locations using the assault bike, the ski ergs, and doing a run to raise money for a charity for a gentleman who passed away of melanoma at the age of 26. So there's little things like that. We do head-to-heads, location against location on Sundays, things like that, then have a barbecue afterwards. There's many community-led events that the locations kind of, put together. And if I look at, again, referring to those top locations, and not just the top 5, but that top percentage in their their marketing calendars and their retention calendars on a quarterly basis, there is one community-led event outside of anything that FitStop as a HQ would have an initiative over. It would be internal that they're doing to keep that community together.
Sure. And they're encouraged to be a bit creative, sort of come up with things that might engage people. And
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a question there in the chat. Do you guys offer a nutrition component for members who have joined outside of Unstoppable?
Yeah, so no, at the moment, nutrition is just as part of Unstoppable.
Yep.
It is something that is on the the dream board for, is it something that we're going to bring in full time moving forward next year, but right now nutrition is part of Unstoppable series.
Yeah, okay. Like last time, I remember we were at the fitness and wellness conference. I think we bumped into each other, and there was, I don't know if it was accurate data, but I read somewhere, I heard someone say there was like 90 sites or something like that. So it's like expanding. Have you sort of run into any challenges with sort of scale? I imagine, if you're looking after 3 gyms, quality control's a bit easier than sort of 90 as a brand. Have you sort of faced any challenges there? Is there any sort of things you've had to sort of adjust as you sort of grow?
Look, I'm not part of that ops side. I'm definitely on the other side of the fence. So probably aren't the best person to speak specifically to this, but naturally, as we have grown, there has been that need to increase resources and making sure that we're continuing to send our people belly to belly across all locations. So not just staying kind of online having Zoom meetings. So recently, for example, we sent our 2 leading member experience specialists for the head of our athletics department down to Victoria to spend belly to belly time on the ground, rehashing our product and making sure the execution of our brand down in Victoria was on point, and then providing that feedback to coaches and things like that. I think as we've grown, we've noticed that there is a need to increase that type of support, not just having the check-in support or the meetings, behind Zoom with business performance, but there needs to be that product check-in quite regularly as well. Yeah.
So in the same way as your members grow at a single studio, you kind of need extra touch points to sort of make sure people are getting looked after. You're trying to do the same thing as more franchise owners grow, making sure they've still got someone they can ask questions of or sort of see best practice of. Makes a lot of sense. Is it all based in Australia at this point? Where is the brand?
Yeah, so head office is up in Queensland. We also have an area development team here in New South Wales, so a full head office here in New South Wales to support. And then we have member experience specialists, so they're the people that go belly to belly in all locations in each of our states, so they are on the ground there. And then we are starting to build out our head office in New Zealand for our New Zealand franchisees, so we're continuing to open over there. And we've just started recruiting for our US head office as well, because we'll be launching into the US next year, and not wanting to take any resource from Australia. That will be a completely separate head office.
Yeah, very good. And it'll be the same model in the States.
Same model.
Yeah, very good. It's I love the, what would you say, the brand is getting well known. It's like a good level of coverage before you're sort of going into New Zealand. It sort of makes sense. It gives you good sort of foundations before you hit the States. So good strategy in that regard. Hey, let me pick your brain for marketing for a second. Have you found any one campaign or any sort of particular promotion to be like effective?
No, we have, all of our national campaigns, like they're all really strong. We kind of have the three, I believe, main ones. It's, we do have the 2-for-1 kind of offer, the free week, but, I've already spoken to it. By far, our biggest opt-in is Unstoppable series.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have at the moment, I believe the metrics from our last Unstoppable, which just finished, 70% conversion rate, just over 70% conversion rate from people that started Unstoppable as an introductory offer, who then converted into memberships.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, and you look at, again, our top performers are generating 60 plus introductory offers for Unstoppable series, each series.
Yep.
Which is
great.
I
know you mentioned that sort of Saturday session, they're encouraged to sort of bring people in as well. So that's like an every Saturday thing?
Every Saturday, social Saturday, bring a mate.
Social Saturday, I love it.
Yeah. Also encouraged, and it's something that we train. But any conversation that you have, as soon as an inquiry drops through or someone downloads our app, it's always the conversation, when you're coming in, who are you bringing with you? And it's always talking about how exercise is more fun with a friend, like a group environment. It's more fun with a friend, bring your friend down. So it's kind of instilled from the very first conversation.
Yeah, okay. You said there's a really cool process. If someone does Unstoppable as a trial and they sort of give you the thumbs up, there's a really low barrier to entry where they can kind of, do it with the touch of a button. Do you find that like calls during the 3 weeks are sort of helpful? Do you find, grabbing them after a session is helping the best studio owners? What's sort of best practice inside of your network?
So with Unstoppable, that's 6 weeks, and that's an opt-out. So when, as an introductory offer, you're coming on board, it's 6 weeks, but you opt out if you choose not to be a member after that.
Okay.
With our trial. So you can do to start with us, your first session is always complimentary. You do your first free session. It is then a click of a button to then become a member after that. So I come into your location, Stevie, I walk out and I'm like, that was absolutely epic. I cannot wait to come back tomorrow. I log into my app, kind of, yep, I'm ready to come on board. My details are in I plug my details in and it's done.
Yes.
But with Unstoppable series and ensuring that you're getting that beautiful conversion rate at the end, 100% there's touch points happening in that 6 weeks. There's a touch point as soon as someone's been there, after each session, you're touching base with them belly to belly. At the end of their first week, it's a phone call. Even if you've seen them, in the location, the day before, there's still a phone call to check in. How's your first week been? Give me that experience. I think when you can show somebody that you care enough about them to call them outside of just talking to them in the studio, I think that gives you a better opportunity to have them realize that you give a shit. If I'm allowed to say that.
No,
so
you definitely can. The care factor's there. And it's probably, is it correct to assume it's probably like the studio manager in lunch breaks or something like that that would reach out and check in on progress?
Correct. The studio manager's in charge of retention and the sales process. Yeah, okay. So there's the check-in at week 1, halfway through, check-in again at the end. Obviously, you get that beautiful belly-to-belly time when you do your in-body scan at the beginning of an Unstoppable series. You'll get that belly-to-belly time again when you rescan them, and then talking again through their results, how they've gone, setting them up for, that next block before they head into Unstoppable again. So having them continue to think forward, not just to where they're currently sitting.
Is it true you guys have got your own CRM? Like you've built something out?
Yeah. So we chose to invest really quite heavily into the tech space with creating our own app and our own CRM. When you've created your own CRM and your own app, you own that data. So then you can pull it apart and provide, the metrics that are actually vital to our business to be successful. And we can pull that apart, see where there are potential holes that need to be filled to improve operating systems. We can highlight what's going really well. And that was really important to us. So, yeah.
I love that. Obviously for reporting and data, the other one that we were using, MindBody, nothing against MindBody. I've sort of spoken at their events and they're a bit of a juggernaut in CRM sort of fitness software. But like the entry level product we were using, was a MindBody app where my members were getting advertised to by other gyms on the app. So I would say, hey, book in for your class. And while they were booking in for my class, there was other gyms in Sydney that were able to sort of advertise to them. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Wow. I didn't know that could happen.
Well, you could sort of go up to the next tier. But I thought that was, I don't know whether I was being overly protective, but I definitely didn't want them, thinking about our classes and being distracted by other stuff. So yeah, we quickly got out of tier 1. So obviously benefits associated with, investing into the software there. I'm sure it's a really big project for head office as well.
Yeah. Well, I think the other beautiful thing is it's, that app it's our first touch point with a member, but it's also used for the member to track their performance. Talking to that Unstoppable series, the member tracks each week, what they're lifting, and they can see their performance improving. It's being graphed, and they open the app, it tells them what they need to be lifting in the session that they're walking into, and you just can't buy that from an off-the-shelf product. So it's really cool. And then as far as being a business owner, again, I've been exposed to various, in-house CRMs, and then also the likes of a MindBody and GlowFox, to be able to have your own CRM, which displays on a beautiful dashboard all your vital signs in one beautiful snapshot. To then you can then click on it, and you're sent to various avenues within the CRM to then help you manage your business that day. I think is exceptional, as opposed to having to file through various reports to figure out kind of where you're sitting as a percentage to then figure out your what's next. Yeah.
Well, you want your key staff to be looking at these numbers, so there's a bit of a scoreboard, and if they've got to go looking for them or they can't find them, it obviously makes life difficult. So makes a lot of sense. So for guys, if you've sort of logged in a little bit later in the intro, I was explaining I've known Lauren for many years. She shared that she sort of started in like a sales type role for Fitness First in the early days. She's worked as a high performance manager and an owner in a PT studio. She's also worked as part of like F45 and sort of seen like multiple brands. For yourself, that's sort of come through that fitness journey where you've sort of seen multiple brands and different things. Is there any kind of business tips or lessons you've kind of picked up along the way you could share with us?
So I've done all those things, but I've also had learning experiences within businesses. And I think my number one lesson going into a business is do your due diligence. And that's whether you're, choosing to go into a brand or doing your own thing, like do your due diligence. If you're going into a partnership, have a really strong partnership agreement and know your exit. As a business owner, find yourself someone to be accountable to. And it's really easy as a business owner to hold your people accountable, your managers, your coaches, but sometimes you need that as well. And I think to talk to you now, like Steve, when we had Vision, Simon and I had our Vision business, and there's many highs and lows being a business owner, and for us, thankfully there were 1,000 times more highs than there ever were lows. But sometimes, being able to, we had you as a coach for, quite some time there, and to be able to have somebody that's outside of your business and what you're having to focus on every day, hold you accountable to continue to move forward, it helps. So I do advise as an owner, having somebody that's outside of the business to report into. And the other one is, your team is everything. Like I think us as a business owner need to learn to become really vulnerable, whether we're owners or managers. But if we can become more vulnerable, it will take us from being, an owner manager to being more of a leader in that space, which I think creates room for, more trust in your business, which is only ever going to be a good thing. Yeah,
it's so good. I remember first sort of sitting down with you and Simon, and quite like complementary skill sets. You're really driven and really strong in that sort of sales aspect, not from like convincing someone to do something they don't want to do, but you talk with this kind of passion where if they're in there considering a membership, it's quite magnetic, So I could see why people were sort of signing up and becoming members. And one of the things I remember we were sort of looking at is trying to get your team to actually support you. Like, but both good leaders, both have really good strength. And trying to give you permission almost to let a few roles go and develop your team. And it's that was fantastic to sort of see not only how like retention went, but how you guys were able to sort of grow in that regard, just filling in the little gaps between the skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that ties into, you know, one, the accountability from you, and also two, you know, becoming vulnerable. And that probably also stemmed from you letting us know to trust and become vulnerable with our people. But yeah, it really helps to then lift a team up when they feel that they can make more of an impact in the business, for sure.
I sent you a few questions to sort of prepare, and I apologise today. We've sort of gone off track a little bit, putting you on the spot. You know, they're kind of big takeaways you've sort of just shared. Getting some accountability, understanding the importance of the team, and helping them to, like, empowering them to help you out. What about if you went the other side? What if you were going to open like a FitStop next month? Like, is there any things that you've sort of learnt along the way that you wish you kind of knew? That yeah, what do you sort of know now that you wish you knew when you were a franchise owner?
What do I wish I knew? So many things, Steve.
Because sometimes it's like it's almost like survival in that first 6 months. If you can avoid making a really crucial error on something, is there anything that kind of you know, you have to steer some of these newbies around and say, look, I know it sounds like a good idea, but maybe don't do that straight away? Or
outside of, you know, the actual process to open the doors, so like the build and getting all that stuff done. But once, I think for a FitStop, for example, I would do absolutely everything in my power to get those initial numbers up, because this is talking in a group fitness environment. A Vibe continues to sell a membership, so the more people you have in your location, you know, creating hype and feeling amazing, you know, anyone that's coming in is just going to be swept into that, become obsessed and become a member. But my biggest learning, and it's going to be a really boring answer because it's probably the same for everybody, they already know this, but it's recruitment. I have 1,000 times over hired out of desperation and held on to somebody because I've been too scared to lose them in case I lost people. And that's always just come down to the fact that I haven't had enough people coming through my pipeline. And I don't think that's ever changed over, you know, 13 years we owned our business, and the last 2 years I've been out of that business and performance managing other businesses around Australia, and it's always the same thing. So I think having a pulse on recruitment, spending time, don't hire someone and expect that they're just going to be great and know the answers and then get shits when they make one mistake. Like, you have to train them, like, and spend time with them and desire to spend time with them, and you know, allow them to make mistakes because that's how they're going to improve. But it's just the people aspect. Constantly recruit. It has to be in your week, every single week. And then train, spend time with your coaches. It's not rocket science. That's probably my number one. And if I had my time,
it's not. But I also understand how we get off track where we're not doing it. You know, there's so many things to juggle, so many different hats to be wearing. Guys, I'd love it if you could put your camera on for a second. I would love to know one thing that you've sort of observed in this conversation with myself and Lauren today, maybe sort of one takeaway, whether it's around the kind of the type of model that they're running, which they've found to be successful to get up over sort of 90 sites, whether it's you know, tips that she's sort of picked up through multiple fitness brands. Jody, anything sort of come to mind, or any little tips that you'd love to share?
Hang on, I'll put my video on. Hi.
Hi.
I've been sitting, taking it all in, but I don't have questions. It's obviously a lot bigger scale from what I have. I just have my own little studio with no desire to grow, you know, franchise, I should say. So it's just been really good to hear, you know, what's involved in it. You know, you're going global. It's amazing.
Very
so I don't
cool.
have questions, but I've enjoyed listening. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I should say Jodie's got a very young little girl, Stevie. Lauren's got 2 daughters. It's school holidays. Any tips for us parents out there that are juggling, Julie, juggling school holidays and ownership and stuff like that? Any thoughts there?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, any thoughts? Because you're doing such a great job.
Oh no, like me personally, like now that I'm an employee and don't have my business, it has been a bigger juggle. Like, you know, you used to be able to bring the kids and they come into the studio. So now I just think you make life work. Like Simon and I have brilliant kids, and I think being able to bring our children up in a fitness boot, like in a fitness studio, was the best. It was such a beautiful way for them to start life.
Yep.
And I think if anyone thinking of going into business and also thinking, can they do that with a family, mate, it is the best time to have a fitness business is when you have a young family. 100%. Wouldn't change that for the world.
I love it. What about you, Nate? Any takeaways from today's session?
Always takeaways when we speak to Loz.
Stop it.
So I think mine over the years working with Loz has always been plan, execute, and just continual training. And just grind for it. That's it. So Loz helped me a lot through lockdown past few years. So yeah, obviously all that work that we've been putting in, obviously our growth also come from that too. So yeah, thanks, Loz.
Oh, no worries. Thank you.
Great share. Julie Stern, Chrissy Newell, anything that sort of pops up as a bit of a key takeaway today?
Sorry, I'm gonna have to watch it again because I had like one ear on the computer and I've got my 2 boys at home with me today, as you know, Steve. So I've been out. But no, I heard so many good ideas just in terms of the offers that you're running at FitStop and the names of your things and social Saturdays. Just sort of what I heard, which I thought was a really good idea. It's just every time I sort of listened in, I was hearing something that I was like, I'm going to have to go back and listen to that. But yeah, so I'll be listening again.
Very good. I'll give you an example of something I like. Like when you do a search for FitStop, you go into the description of like the brand, flexible memberships, 45 minutes, no lock-in contracts. Like the descriptions are actually really well sort of thought out. What was interesting when we spoke about, for me, when we spoke to Lauren and said, you know, what's the most successful or campaign or whatever you've done? They find like low risk, high value trials. They back themselves on the quality of their product and they don't have to change it every single week or every single month to kind of, you know, bright, shiny objects like a lot of brands are. It was a good offer, a good introduction for new people last month, and it remains like a good one sort of this month. So I love the fact that they're not sort of spending 90% of their time sort of coming up with that new discount or the new offer like a lot of brands can sort of get caught up in. What about you, Chrissy? Anything that, as a takeaway for Lauren? I think it's good feedback for her as well, or Jeff. What do you think, guys?
Oh, hi, Steve. Yeah, sorry, I'm really struggling with daylight saving. Like in an appointment halfway through the conversation. So thank you, Lauren, and I'm looking forward to listening to it back.
No worries. Chrissy, to make things worse, we'll start daylight saving, I think, this weekend, so it'll change again next week.
Oh, it'll be normal next week.
Yeah, okay. What about you, Jeff? Any takeaways from today's session before we let Lauren go?
Unfortunately, like Julie and Christy, I got dragged away with tenants through it and so I only caught bits and pieces. I can't wait to get back, but thank you, Lauren, for your time. The bits that I heard were excellent, and I think we all benefit from a lot of those insights.
Thank you.
We might go to you, Dev, to finish. Any last thoughts or takeaways?
I just love the focus on the operations and just the infrastructure right at the beginning. It resonates with me with, you know, how I'm looking at my business, and I could see why that growth would have accelerated so much, because it's that time and focus on the infrastructure supporting that first, rather than the other way around, growing and then stalling, growing and then stalling.
There's a lot of language I was picking up that Lauren had. It was less about like the facilities, and she kept using that terminology, belly to belly, like time spent with key people. You don't need 10 staff, if you've got a couple of good, reliable ones that are really, really good at the product, they don't have to be heaps salesy if you've actually given yourself an opportunity in a real high value trial to demonstrate the quality of the sessions. So much to love about the brand, and I love what you've been able to do, Lauren. So congratulations.
Thank you.
In moving into this role. I really appreciate your transparency and honesty as well, sort of sharing some of the challenges you've had along the way. It was fantastic to have you on board today. I really appreciate your help, and thanks for joining us.